Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Bismillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulihi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Sayyidina wa habibina al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsani ila yawm ad-din wa ba'd. We'd like to welcome you all to tonight's rendition of the Black Imams Roundtable, inshallah ta'ala. I'm Imam Faheem, aka the Imam of the Boom Bat, aka Falito Brigante, aka Arthur Fazzarelli, aka Fa Snow, the King of the North, and a whole host of other monikers that I'm not going to name because that'll take up all my time to speak. MashaAllah. But welcome you all tonight. Thank you for tuning in. For those who are tuning in, for those who may come afterwards, thank you. Please be sure as we start, the link is not up yet, but you can be ready to pay your donation. Alhamdulillah, we request at least $10 as a cover fee, inshallah, to help us to continue to grow. All right, so my fellow Imams, Imam Amin is on the road for a minute. He'll be joining us shortly, as well as Imam Naeem. He's also on the road. Things happen. So I've been charged with holding the fort down until they get ready, inshallah. So I'm going to do my best. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this discussion tonight very beneficial. So the topic, it was about the methodologies in our Masjids. All right. So we've been instructed to talk about what are our methodologies for learning, for teaching. What do we use? What strategies? And all of those things. And I would just like to begin when we talk about our methodology, as all of you know or may not know, that we try to make clear what our actual methodology is. And that is that we follow the way of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, the way of the people of the Sunnah and the majority, which is composed of the Asharis, the Maturidis, and the Fudala min al-Hanabila. So the virtuous ones from amongst the Hanabila. And as far as me and my methodology, I'm Ashari and Akida. All right. And when we talk about Ashari, I think we should make it clear concerning what it means to follow Imam Abul Hasan al-Ashari. It is a codified body of work of how to approach theological issues, because a lot of people are still under what's the word I'm looking for? Misinformed about what it means to be an Ashari. I had a brother in my Masjid recently. Everything was cool. Every time he learned something from me, he never had any kind of speculation. Then someone told him that I was Ashari. So now he looks at me funny, like, because I know what it's from. It's because of what he understands Ashari to be, and he's had influence from Wahhabis, who say that Imam Abu Hasan al-Ashari rahimahullah followed Greek philosophy and all the other nonsense that they say, and none of them have ever read any works in the Ashari school. All right, so my methodology is Ashari and Aqidah. I'm Shafi'i in fiqh, follow the madhab of Imam Shafi'i. And as far as the signs of ihsan, the signs of tasawwuf, I don't follow a particular tariqah, but many of my teachers and people that have influenced me greatly in the science of tasawwuf, they follow the Shadili tariqah, and many of the awrad or the wirds or the daily litanies that I do, they come from the Shadili tariqah. So I haven't made bay'ah yet, but that's where the bulk of my spiritual dosages come from. Also, but whoever is authentically representing the science, we get benefit from them, because there's some teachers I know that follow the Naqshbandi way, and others. So we get what we can. But getting back to the methodology, we really try to keep it simple, and the reason why is because where we're located in Camden, New Jersey, we're in the midst of the stronghold of the Madkhali, Salafi, Wahhabi branch of that movement. So for those who are in the tri-state, or they know Those Salafi Masjids, Germantown, Bin Baz. The one in our city is called Masjid Muhammad Ibn Abdul Wahhab, or more famously known as Spruce Street locally. All of these masjids. They are like satellite. They all work together, and they all follow the same methodology, which is the Wahhabi doctrine. And they follow a particular strand of the Wahhabi doctrine. That there's some ulama, well, not ulama. There's some people that they call scholars that are dear to them. I don't want to take up time talking about all of that, but and our city is so small. Our city is basically 9 square miles. I mean, if you're in good shape, you can walk the entire city. But so we have 3 masjids in our city. Our masjid, Masjid Muhammad Ibn Abdul Wahhab, and our neighbors at Masjid Nur, the Islamic Learning Center that's right around the corner from us. And we all in close proximity to each other. Masjid Nur is right around the corner, and Spruce Street, because saying Masjid Muhammad Ibn Abdul Wahhab is a mouthful. But Spruce Street is less than a mile away from us, right? Actually on the same main strip. But we're in the battle as far as methodologies and trying to win the hearts and minds of people, because in my experience, I know with the Wahhabi Salafi, propaganda over the last 20 years or so, a lot of people are influenced by it, and they may not understand that they even follow that as a default ideology, And when you have to counter some of those things that they've learned and it's been embedded in them, sometimes you gotta go through a lot of work to deprogram them and sift through all of the things that they learn, and it's a tedious task at times, but very well worth it. So, my approach as the Imam of the Quba School and Islamic Center is just try to really assess people where they are. So, I mean, in my experience, I've been around for a while, and as some of you know or may not know, I used to be a part of the Madkhali cult. Let's call it what it is. It's a cult. It's a cult within the cult of the Salafi Wahhabi movement, right? And so I used to be a part of it, but I was just never like the kind of yes man or kind of just parrot stuff. I was always observant, and I always thought for myself. So when I know what the movement is about and what they teach people. They focus on refutations. They focus on that their way is the only proper way to understand Islam. They're very marginalized, very narrow-minded, very shallow in their approach. They don't know any fiqh, and they're very literal in their, understanding of some concepts in Islam. So, we have, it's a small city, so everybody kind of knows everybody, especially the Muslim community. We're a minority within a small city, so most everybody knows, and we know each other so well that you kind of know where a person is in their Islam and what masjid they go to, because there's only 3. So, if you don't see them at ours, they're going to go to the Wahhabi Masjid, or they're going to be with the pioneers at Masjid Nur. So with that influence being in the city, and being so close by, we kind of have to really, use hikmah in dealing with people, because we don't want to put them all in the same category, because when we talk about, countering, or what they say, having these Aqidah wars with these people, is really countering this methodology or this ideology that's caused so many problems and caused so much splitting, and families, warring against each other. And I've never seen as many people leave Islam as I have seen from people from that movement, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us safe. So we try not to put everybody in the same box. We try to make the distinction between the leaders and the callers to that and the regular people in our city, many of them whom we know, and they know us, and they know our commitment to them. And it's just unfortunate sometimes they get around that methodology, then they lose their sense of thinking, So we just try to be easy with some of them. There are some people that are new. They may have heard of me, or they may not have heard of me, but, they're genuine, and you can kind of tell. There's some that are still, they come in our masjid and they act spooky. like because they've been told that we're Sufis and we're deviants. So I think they got to keep an eye out. If somebody's going to start flying on the carpet or some kind of nonsense, and to make it so funny, we get some of them to come to our masjid to pray because we stay open. So some of them will come like maybe for Dhuhr or Asr, and they'll be praying, praying with the light out. One time I seen a brother, so I come in, he's praying with the lights out. So I was like, listen, man, why you praying with the lights out? Don't you know they already trying to, put us, call us deviants and all that? Now you just giving them ammunition. So he don't know what I'm talking about, but, it was a joke to me. And so when they come to our masjid, we just try to take them where they are. Some of them, they just come and, they use us, they'll come pray. Mashallah, it's open. And, they won't stay around. They won't talk to us. They won't initiate the salam. So you can tell, how to deal with them based on how they even come in the masjid. You already know what they on, Some of them, they have some manners, they'll come and, they'll be cordial. They'll at least speak and give you half a smile, but they write out, because somehow they think we're going to corrupt them with our deviance or whatever they be telling them, but mashallah. So our methodology basically is, to deal with people and really keep it focused on the fard ayn, making sure, first of all, just, that really doesn't come up unless we're going to have a class. And, when we just dealing with people regular every day, give them salams, being nice to them, see, what they need, and we can offer them anything, when I'm out there on, on the souk, like offer them something, give them a discount, or just ask how they family, just give them just regular, good old, genuine brotherhood and sisterhood, inshallah. And, if they hang around, they hang around. They don't, but the ones that we get as far as teaching, they usually are two types: people that are eager to learn and they know that they don't know. And then you got the ones who think they learned something when they've been influenced by that methodology. So they might come and they call themselves trying to check you, or, they're making tahqiq. They're correcting you as you go along. Like they listening with, with a critical ear, wait to see if you're going to slip up and say something, and they can go back and tell whoever, So, but as far as learning, our masjid is basically like many places. A lot of people these days are not really interested in sitting down and learning knowledge, and this is very unfortunate. With this availability of social media and be able to listen to a number of people and, all of these things, a lot of people are not really interested in sitting down and reading through books and taking quizzes and letting them, drill them or ask them about what they know, what they understand, ask them questions, what they got to think. They could just go listen to the popular lecture. Somebody quotes a few proofs, they speak Arabic and, they just go with it. You know what I mean? So as far as learning, we don't get a lot of people, but our methodologies that we use basic Ashari texts, something like Aqidatul Awam. And then we also use just basic, books that are found, the foundations in the Shafi school, because I'm Shafi, and I just learned that with our people, sometimes you got to give them these things without them knowing that's what they're getting. And then you have to, assess who is a serious student or not, because like if people come to our masjid, they're learning Ashari Aqidah and they might not even know it, and for depending on the level of the student, it's not important for them to, to know what, being Ashari is, but the concept is what they need to know. Then if I get somebody who starts, rambling with Wahhabi kind of doctrine, naming certain people from that movement that they consider scholars, then we have to take it, and counter it. When people are learning the fundamentals, like how to pray, they're learning in our masjid according to the Shafi school. They don't need to know the proofs. We get people that, where's the proof? And every time I hear this from a person who doesn't, basically don't even know how to recite Al-Fatiha properly, it really really boils my blood, man. Like if I showed you the proof, you wouldn't know where to find it anyway. So, why are you even asking? But, just assessing people like that, but really just trying to keep it simple and engaging people, because the masjids now, even before this pandemic, a lot of people don't really come to the masjid. We get a few brothers for salat. For classes, everybody's always asking for classes, and then when the classes are going on, no one comes, and then they think that, your whole life is revolved around just waiting for somebody to show up. They don't pay you as an imam. You're valuable and you're worth something until it's time to pay you. Then you're not that worth, you're not worth that much, when it comes to, give up money. So then, imams like us, we got to go earn a living. So then, and now nobody wants to be sat down and see what they actually don't know. Everybody's scared to seem like that they're ignorant, but a lot of people are incredibly ignorant about the basics of deen, and it's very unfortunate. So, I know for me, and then I had a problem with inconsistency at times. I'll start a class, and then people will come, and then everybody has an excuse, they can't make it. And then, I'm making my time and available for people, and then they don't want to come to class, or they got to go to work, or, and then, I know one of my shortcomings that I get frustrated, man. I'd be like, okay, I could be spending my time, learning because I'm still a student too. I could be learning on my own. That's a lot of stuff that I could be doing, instead of waiting around for people that are not going to show up. So that's how we try to do it. Really just try to be a service of people. And then the ones who show some kind of some interest or some zeal for learning, we try to isolate them and, teach them, inshallah. So that's where we at, It's just a lot that we got to do as imams in the cities. And it's a lot. And, but we just try to keep it pushing, And then, for Jumu'ah, you got to kind of try to catch the people there and try to give them some type of dars, maybe, in the khutbah. Then after the khutbah announcements, and while you got them, you know what I mean? But then, after Jumu'ah, I've been up all day preparing, and, I didn't have a whole shift before the khutbah. Then giving the khutbah is a lot, And then after Jumu'ah, I'm ready to relax, you know what I mean? And now you got all these people all of a sudden, they need this, or they got this question, or, man, I've been here all week, man. You know what I'm saying? Been here all week. All of a sudden, it's pressing. You see 3 people waiting to talk to me, and now your situation is so dire that you want me to just, disregard them. Like it's a lot. But that's basically our methodology, really just trying to take people where they are and deal with them accordingly. And even before we get, teaching people, make sure we just give them good and genuine brotherhood, just, being sincere with people, not judging them, I know I've heard reports like the other masjids they go to, like, they ask them if they haven't been around, and if they haven't been around, where you been at. If they say they come to our masjid, then their whole facial expressions change, and then, I'm dealing with, in my area, it's a whole bunch of having people displaced, because they say, oh, it's not a problem with Imam Faheem, it's a problem with the masjid he attend. Or some people, they'll say it's not the masjid, it's Imam Faheem, so which one is it? It got, if I'm the imam of the masjid, you got a problem with the masjid, you got a problem with me. You know what I mean? So, like, come on, don't play games, and then people that I know that know me for years, they flake when they see me, but they tell everybody all these stories, watch out for them, don't sit with them, or use them for what you need, but don't take no deen from them, and all this nonsense that I hear. And I used to chase it down, years ago, and approach people like, man, what's this? I hear about you saying this, that, and the other. And then I just got tired of seeing the phoniness on people's faces, like, oh no, Sheikh, that's not what I meant. Yeah, that's what you meant because you said it. You know what I mean? And you said it in a way that you never thought I would find out. You know what I mean? So now you got a chance to discuss it. Well, what is the issue? Why am I deviant? Tell me what you heard that I said wrong. And they can't even explain their position. So I don't have that kind of energy no more, because I still hear it to this day, but the focus is really what we're doing as Black imams, really focusing on our people who are like-minded, who follow Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and concentrate and make sure our people know their stuff and that they have access to us. So that's basically my spill, inshallah, because the illustrious Imam here, Imam Naeem, I hope I didn't go into his time too much. So alhamdulillah, so that's where I'm at, inshallah.
I enjoy listening. You can keep going.
Nah.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa afdalu salat wa atamu tasneem ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een wa radiyallahu ta'ala an sadat al-tabi'een wa ulama al-amalin wa a'immatul arabat al-mujtahideen wa muqallidihim ila yawm al-din. Amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Alhamdulillah. It's a pleasure being with the family as usual. Alhamdulillah. My name is Naeem Abdullah. I'm the Imam of Masjid al-Mu'min in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Alhamdulillah. Imam Amin is listening. He's going to join us in a minute, inshallah. You probably only hear him, but you won't be able to see him, inshallah. Alhamdulillah. Anyway, as far as our methodology of our community, it's very similar to what Imam Faheem mentioned. We consider ourselves Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'at, people of the Sunnah in the community, i.e. Sunni Muslims, the short title. And to get more specific, like Imam Faheem, like Imam Amin, we are Ashari I'tiqad, and we are Ashari in creed. And if you were listening from the beginning, I believe Imam Faheem kind of explained it in simple layman's terms, so I don't have to really go on that way, right? So, and this is one thing that I try to do here as well. I try to break things down very simple, and I try to not to get too technical. And really, when I mean too technical, even basic terminology for a lot of us is too technical. So I try to even break it down even less than that, right? And so basically, as far as the creed is concerned, you know, if you follow me, you are in our Monday evening classes that we do after Isha, right? We are teaching a book in creed written by Sheikh Uthman Danfodio, Tagama Dahullahu bi rahmati Amin. May Allah envelop him in his mercy, Amin. And called Usuluddin, you know, and his foundation is this Ashari in creed. So so that's one of the books that we teach. Other classes we have, you know, all from that Ashari or classical position in creed. Alhamdulillah. As far as madhab, we are Maliki. We follow the school of Imam Malik ibn Anas. You know, the practice of the people of Medina, the second of the four Imams. If you are with us through Mondays through Thursdays, we just recently started teaching Maliki fiqh, you know, publicly online. And we are now going through a text called Al-Akhdari. If anybody's familiar with Maliki fiqh, you know that this is a basic primary book in the school. So this is what we are teaching and going through right now. As far as our ihsan or our tasawwuf, our spiritual practice, we are Qadariya. We follow Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani as far in Tariqah. And all of that we get through our Sheikh, we on the methodology of Sheikh Uthman Danfodio, the well-known West African Mujaddid reviver of the faith. That it seems to be getting a lot more popular nowadays. But, you know, we are connected with that community. And, you know, this is what we follow as far as our creed. Unlike South Jersey, North Jersey, and Philadelphia, our demographics are a lot different. And the mentality is a little bit different. They're here in Pittsburgh, they are, well, demographic wise, demographic wise, I'm glad Abu Mawad is here because I'm going to say some things, and I like him to comment in the chat to verify or to add because he's from Pittsburgh, right? And so, but what number one demographically here in Pittsburgh, like for example, even in New York where I'm originally from, Philly, these different areas in Jersey that I mentioned, right? You find for a long time a lot of these urban areas were, basically hoods or black areas with a few, white or enclaves, talking about in the city. And then now they coming back and, gentrifying it and all that kind of stuff in all of these areas. Pittsburgh is a little different. Pittsburgh is about 20 years behind the rest of the country. Pittsburgh, is mostly white with a few black neighborhoods. When I first moved here, you could really name, like, when I first moved here, the black neighborhoods was Homewood, The Hill, Garfield, and maybe Hazelwood, and a few other places, a few other neighborhoods, right? But most of the city was not hood, white neighborhoods. But now even some of those neighborhoods that I just named, some of them have been chopped in half and they're not any black. They're not too black anymore. And so I'm saying this to say that, the demographics is a lot different, a whole lot different. And so in most of the areas on the East Coast where you have Muslims, you had for a long time, a few, African American communities. And then, later on the suburban communities, the immigrant communities, came. I think here in Pittsburgh, I think the immigrant community kind of like dominates more than the indigenous community. There's a little bit more than a handful of masjids here. And I think at least in the city area, I think it's safe to say that about half of them, or a little bit more than half of them, or I guess you could consider African American or black communities or masjids. But if you include all of the surrounding areas outside of the city limits, I think it's about even. So, and so here we have one, how should I say, openly Salafi or Wahhabi type community. And usually when you think of Pittsburgh, that's really the first community you think of. And, just like what Imam Faheem mentioned, they do the same thing, don't go there, they're deviants, what have you. And when you talk, if you get even one of them to talk to you, they can't explain how or why you're a deviant, right? They just know that you're a deviant and not to mess with you. So, alhamdulillah. So another thing about Pittsburgh is that the people here, how can I say, seeking knowledge of the deen is not seen as that important like it is in other cities. Like I lived in several cities, and the masjid classes is in these other places is more importance. Even for the wrong intention. Like some cities, people come to the masjid just to get enough information to debate and argue with somebody else, right? Abu Muwadda said that's because they have put that work when it comes to prisons, fortunately. Yeah. So when it comes to classes and methodology, a lot of people don't even know what you're talking about. They don't have a clue what you're talking about. What you mean methodology? I'm Muslim. What are you talking about? Quran and Sunnah. And so alhamdulillah, most of our classes are online on Facebook and YouTube, and a lot of you are in those classes. We have some other classes that are not online. So alhamdulillah, that's our methodology here at our masjid. I don't know if Imam Amin is going to speak now, but if you're ready, you can go. Maybe you're not ready. All righty there. Khalifa, what you talking about Clariton? Clariton is a area outside of Pittsburgh. Clariton doesn't have a Muslim community per se. There are some Muslims that live there, but they don't have a masjid there. Okay. Alhamdulillah. Yeah, Farouk always talk about Clariton. Had me thinking there was something going on in Clariton. Clariton is about a half hour away from here, a little bit more maybe. I see Imam Amin is unmuted. Alhamdulillah. Tafadul. Oh, he's gone. That was quick.
MashaAllah. Yeah, to your point, Imam, I think a lot of people just don't really, because of the onslaught, man, and the attacks over the years, it's still a lot of people trying to figure it out, what methodology is, because they've had what's the word I'm looking for? A very clever kind of assault, where, you just put these people, ask them for the proof, ask everybody for the proof. Don't take nothing unless somebody gives you the proof. Quran says this, the Prophet ﷺ says this, that's it. No explanation, don't use your mind, don't use no logic. All of that is from Greek philosophy, and it's been crazy.
I think another thing that tricks a lot of people is because you got, the Wahhabis that are like, in your area, Philly, Jersey, they're real dogmatic, they real over the top, they real ghetto, and they everything out about Salafi. But then you got this other guy over here who believes the exact same thing that they do, but it's like good cop and bad cop, right? And so a lot of our people don't even know that there's an issue with regards to creed, right? They doubt their own creed because this is what they say. They say, his Aqidah is messed up. His Aqidah is messed up. And so they have doubt about their own creed, not knowing that they're the one with the problem with the creed. And so they look at these loud, bombastic, Salafi, people that's, making prostration marks in their head, like all this weird, these weird type of people, right? And in their mind, that's Salafi. That's the Wahhabis you're talking about. And they think we're not talking about the other guy over here who's coming from the same books, the same tradition, everything, but he has more speech. He's a little bit more personable. He will sit with the deviants. In other words, us, right? People like us, like the other bombastic ones, they won't even sit with us, but he will, but they believe the same thing. So a lot of people get confused, be like, well, what's wrong with him? He's not like them. And yeah, they're the same thing.
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Wa alaikum salam. Yeah.
We hear you. Sounds kind of low to me, but I hear you.
Is my voice clear? Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Alaikum salam.
Oh, y'all can hear my voice?
Yeah.
Yeah, come on, Otis.
Okay. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Excuse me, I am traveling. I told y'all this morning I had a package coming from Egypt and it arrived and it is essential for research, so I had to go get it. But alhamdulillah, in our discussion tonight about methodology, I just wanted to explain the methodology of Masjid Muhammad of Atlantic City. Our methodology is, Imam Naeem, if my voice breaks up and you can't hear me, let me know because I can't see your chat or anything.
All right, it's cracking a little bit, but it ain't too bad. You can go ahead.
Okay. So Masjid Muhammad, as we talked about before, it is the oldest masjid in South Jersey. Masjid Muhammad is like 65 years old. It was before it was Masjid Muhammad. It started off in 1955 as the temple number 10 in the Nation of Islam. Then, as in 1975, with the transfer of leadership to Imam Warafdi Muhammad, rahimahullah, Masjid Muhammad followed that transition, and it lasted that way for another 30 years. So Imam Khairi Shakur, rahimahullah, was the leader of the Masjid. It basically stayed on the methodology of Imam Warafdi Muhammad, with a little slight changes with Imam Warafdi, Imam Khairi Shakur, until I became the Imam in the year 2009 or 2010, somewhere around there. 2010, I think it was. And then I started to direct the community towards a more traditional understanding of Islam, or we can say an orthodox, classical understanding of Islam based on the foundations of the religion and the hadith of Jibreel alayhi salam, which is representative of Islam and Iman and Al-Ihsan. And if we turn that, as our traditional scholars, they said that Al-Islam represents Al-Fiqh, that Al-Iman is represents Al-Aqidah, and Al-Ihsan represents Al-Tasawwuf. So our methodology of Masjid Muhammad is in according to that. So in Aqidah, like our other two Imams mentioned, Masjid Muhammad is Ash'ari in Aqidah. Whereas we do have people who are, Hanafi and follow the way of the Maturidi methodology, but when we say Ahl Sunnah, both Ash'ari and Maturidi are similar in this context. So our creed is strictly Ash'ari, and we have zero tolerance for anything other than that, right? So that you all know about Masjid Muhammad, we are dignified Ash'aris. We're not Ash'ari with any kind of compromising in the creed. We are Ahl Sunnah, Ash'ari, Maturidi, 100%, right? In terms of fiqh, we are following the school of Imam Muhammad ibn Idris al-Shafi'i. That is from the administrative side. As far as the population, we have Malikis, we have Hanafis. In fact, now most of our community follow the Hanafi school. But me as the Imam and with my pushy nature, Shafi'i school still reigns supreme. But it is not, we have Hanafi people who lead and who teach, as well as Malikis. We are Ahl Sunnah. So in terms of the madhabs, as long as the person is following the madhab properly, meaning he's learning the books of the madhab, he learns the conditions and the integrals and avoids the invalidators according to those schools, because in our masjid, the works of all the schools are available. So no matter what school a person followed, he would find all what he needs in that school in terms of literature in Masjid Muhammad. So that's the practice we do, so that we don't have people who are, Shafi'i, but not following the Shafi'i school, or Hanafi, but not following the Hanafi school, or Maliki, but not following the Maliki school. We ensure that when a person says, I follow a madhab, he has access to that madhab and he knows it well. In terms of tasawwuf, we follow the spirituality, a spiritual aspect of the religion. As far as tariqah, because of my studies and my teachers, I've learned more than one tariqah. But in Masjid Muhammad, basically we focus on the Ba'alawi tariqah, because I believe it is most accessible and easy for common people. Myself, I was given permission in the Rifai Tariqa, in the Naqshbandi Tariqa, in the Shisti Tariqa, and the Ba'alawi Tariqa. So I learned all four of those Turuq Sufiya. But in terms of me, myself, basically my learning, my awrad, I stick to my Rifa'i ways, but also I follow a lot of the ways of Asada al-Ba'alawi. And that's me as an individual. But as the community, our practice is Ba'alawi in terms of tasawwuf. Our books that we study, our awrad that we do, what we teach, what we encourage the people is by the path of Asada al-Ba'alawi. In terms of those who contradict that methodology, we really don't have a problem with that in Masjid Muhammad because of our strictness in creed. We're very, very strict, and most people won't come because when you come to Masjid Muhammad, it's well known our methodology, and we are straightforward with it. We are Ash'ari, we are Shafi'i, we are Sufi, and we are known for that. In our city, there are several masjids, but most of those masjids are influenced by the other creeds that contradict the creed of Ahl-Sunnah wal Jama'ah. So there is a mutual understanding that, you know, you do what you do and we do what we do. But people do come in, but a lot of our community in Atlantic City is divided by ethnicity. So you have basically the Pakistanis, the Egyptians have their place, the Bengalis have their place, and the blacks, most of them are not really engaged in masjid like they could be. So they're becoming, like, unfortunately, like extinct in the discourse of Islam in our city. And alhamdulillah, through Masjid Muhammad, we are able to still hold the flag of Ahl-Sunnah wal Jama'ah and represent as African Americans on the city scale. So even though we having a lot of ethnicities that have taken over and started their own masjids, as far as recognition in the city, Masjid Muhammad under my leadership is the main masjid in Atlantic City. So when anything is considered in the city or in the schools or with the police, they're going to come to Masjid Muhammad to represent al-Islam. So this is our methodology. In terms of teaching, we teach the books of the Ash'ari in Aqidah. We in major books, like our methodology is, we teach 3 basic books, except if someone is more advanced. First, we teach Al-Aqidah Tahawiyah, which we are learning now in the post-Fajr reflections. We are teaching it broad, but that's something that's like, what we always do in the masjid. After a person finishes Al-Aqidah Tahawiyah, we move to Jawharat al-Tawheed in the Ash'ari school by Imam al-Aqani. And then finally, for the third book that we usually teach in Aqidah is Al-Aqidah al-Aqaid al-Safiyya, which is according to the Maturidi school. Anyone who comes to Masjid Muhammad and then stay for a period of time, they're going to learn all those 3 books. In terms of fiqh, we usually start off with a Hadrami curriculum from Hadramat. So we start the person off with Risalatul Jamia, which is a small text which being taught every Sunday morning at 6 o'clock in the English translation of the accompanying epistle. We move from there to Safinatul Najah, which is another Hadrami book, which is small, the Ship of Salvation. Then we move to the book that we just covered before we started, Aqidah Tahawiyah. We studied Sunan al-Tawfiq by Al-Habib Abdullah bin Hussein bin Tahir. After we go from Sunan al-Tawfiq, we usually move to Matan Abi Suja'a, which is a more detailed book with covering all the chapters of it. After Matan Abi Suja'a, we usually stop at Reliance of the Traveler for our community, which is in English. If someone is more advanced, we move up to other major books in the Shafi school. In terms of tasawwuf, our practice, our books, which we read the books of Imam Ghazali, like Bidayat al-Hidayah, the beginning of guidance, Minhaj al-Abidin, which we're doing now on Wednesdays, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We study the summary of Al-Ihya, which we're doing on Monday. And we read the books of Imam al-Haddad, the book of assistance, Risala to Adab, so you can read good manners. Masjid Muhammad is known for throwing all-day weekend conferences with our teachers, both from abroad and from around the country. And this is the methodology of Masjid Muhammad. I can't see the questions, so if y'all have questions, if any of them relates to me, just tune me in and let me know, or post them, and I can read them and see them. Barakallahu bikum.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Imam, for that on the road, off the dome type of thing, man. MashaAllah. I don't know if we have any questions. I wanted to mention, as far as teaching, I don't do a lot of teaching online. I have a few students that I use another platform. I use Zoom, and then I post them to YouTube, because I really try to like have interaction with my students, you know. And because I've noticed that, you know, I need to know that they know what they're learning, because people will sit in the class, they'll listen to a lecture, and they'll be excited, you know, about the presentation, and oh yeah, man, the sheikh dropped it, you know. Well, what did you learn? And they can't recall it, you know. So we do it on a very basic level. I'm going to be doing an intensive Ramadan course in a couple of weeks to get people ready for Ramadan, inshallah. Make sure people know everything they need to know concerning the Ramadan. I'll put the links online, but it'll be primarily for people in my community, because I'm not an all-star like Otis over there, man. You know, he go to the Coca Cabana at will. You know, I gotta do them. I gotta do the basement dollar house parties, man. You know, where you gotta be out a certain time because somebody's mom's coming home. You know.
Chitlin circuit.
Yeah, the chitlin circuit, you know. So yeah, but other than that, I mean, alhamdulillah, I'm usually at the masjid every day. So one of the pluses is that I'm able to engage brothers, you know, that do come, and you know, we able to have, you know, I'm able to direct the topic of discussion, you know, so we don't really get off track, you know. And then, you know, as me being imam, you know, they put you know. They put you on a pedestal that you got to keep working to come down off of, you know. But at the same time, you just a little step ahead of them. So, you know, certain things they're not going to do around me, you know, and certain things I'm just not going to let happen as the imam. So, you know, and I think, you know, just being out there every day now, people, they appreciate that, you know. So, for instance, you know, like for the last month or so, I haven't really been out there, and you know, brothers calling me. I mean, I come through for the salat, you know, Jummah. I haven't really been out there, you know, pitching. So people looking for me, you know, make sure I'm okay, you know. So alhamdulillah, I appreciate that. But it just shows that, you know, the fact that they appreciate the good company, inshallah ta'ala, you know. And like I said earlier, you know, in our area, we just got a lot of stuff that we got to counter. I remember one time, if you don't mind if I can share the story. One time, there was these people that took shahada. And you know, we had given them shahada. It was two sisters, and then they ended up going down to the other masjid, and then, you know, I got word that they thought that I heard they said they were somebody relayed this back to me, said that they felt like that they made a mistake when they took the shahada, and the reason why they felt like that is because when they went to the other place, the whole thing was about external. You know, you had to dress like this. You had to stop doing this. You had to stop doing this. You know, stay away from these people. And this is what they initiated with them with Islam, to the point that they felt like that they made a mistake in, you know, their salvation. SubhanAllah. You know, and these are some of the things that we got to deal with. You know, I got to deal with, for instance, if somebody dies in this area, after trying to convince their family to let them be buried as a Muslim, then I got to worry about somebody from the other masjid trying to convince them to not let me do it. Like, it's like every time, people call me, they be like, yeah, we got a janazah. And I'll be like, I'll wait till the actual day they call me, because I already know how it's going to go, except for it's my people, then it's a given. But if it's like somebody who's displaced and they die and they really maybe between masjids, or they just out there caught up in the street, and the other masjid, if they don't know them, they won't acknowledge them, even though they go there faithfully. If you're not in the clique, they won't acknowledge you because they say they don't know what you were upon. You go to their masjid every week, give them money, admire them, but they don't know what you were upon. And so I usually have to deal with these people because they have to end up getting buried anyway. And then when it reaches them that I'm the one that's going to be doing the janazah, somebody calls the family, no, don't let them do it. And all this nonsense, but that's the work we got to do, and really trying to win the hearts and minds of people, and hoping that, that something good will rub off on people and they'll get it. Because we still got a lot of people, man, that really, they doubt themselves so much. And, it's a lot of internal things going on with them. So they'll be with you and sound good and sound strong. And then somebody else drops something in their ear. Now, all of a sudden, they be confused, and now, okay, then you see them out in the streets, or, in places of ill repute. And you be like, man, and a lot of it, that's basic logic. Like, man, I go with the Muslim. This one, he see me, all right, and I go down there, they say don't stay away from him. He speak Arabic. He must know what he's talking about. But I get a good feeling when I go to the other place. But I'm supposed to ignore my feelings because it's following my desires, and I'm not allowed to speak on my own, with my own mind. I got to know the proof. And nonsense, man. It's so saddening. All right, we got a question here. It says, question for any of the imams: do you feel it's proper to teach believers who come to your masjid, your madhab, aqidah, minhaj by default, or is it better to be explaining everything that you're teaching them? I think it's just to teach them by default, taking people on a case-by-case basis, because for the average person, they're not going to know. You might get somebody that been influenced by Wahhabiyya, and then now they think, well, where can I find that at, and what's your proof for this, and who said this? Then that kind of person, you got to explain to them. You got to deprogram sometimes. And sometimes you got to let them know that they don't know what they're talking about and they parroting stuff. But for the average person, just teach them by default. And, they learn it because they trust you, because, knowledge is amana. You know what I mean? So when they trust you, they trust what you're saying, So for every person I get like that, come around as like some type of, spy, I get a person that will, they call me, okay, I need to know such and such. Okay, if I know it, I tell them. If I don't know, I tell them I'll find out. And, people tell you, like, I trust you, Imam, So, they know I ain't going to lie to them. And if I don't know it, I just say I don't know, But I think it's better. It depends on where you at. We're a small city, so it's kind of like you can assess people, man, because it's not that many of us. But teach them by default, And then as you go old, you grow, just like you learning in school. You don't learn all of the rules. When you learn how to talk as a kid, you don't learn all the rules of grammar. You learn how to speak, and then you learn all the rules of grammar. Then you learn higher language arts and stuff like that. So it's the same thing in Deen. Teach the people, you teach them how to make wudu. You show them, you show them according to the Shafi school, right? And then you tell them later, and it'll make sense, because in stuff like that, you're not going to find too many different variations. It's only when we talk about Aqidah, that we got to go to war. we got to tool up, man, because, but other than that, I say teach them by default. Allah knows best.
What I do, I basically, basically the same thing. Like I give an example, like even today and yesterday, for example, right? Like, because, I'm aware that we're not living in a vacuum. There's information going all over the place. People are seeing, what's around them. So like today in my Maliki Fiqh class, and just for clarification, like if that class wasn't online, that would just be a basic Islam class. It would be like a one-on-one class, right? I put the Maliki fiqh there just to let the greater world know. And the reason why is because the people in Pittsburgh, they're not like on a level like that. Most of them, they want to learn how to pray or want to learn how to these things. We just teach that, right? And but I put the Maliki fiqh there so that people will know, outside that maybe on a little bit higher level will know. So in our text that we covered today, we talking about the sunan of the salat, and it mentioned the iqama being one of the sunan of salat, right? Now, what I mentioned after that is not in the text, but I explained, the difference between the Maliki rendition of the Adhan and the Iqama. And the reason why I did that is because I know that, for example, if you come to our masjid and you hear the muezzin call the Adhan, and then you go to another masjid, you're going to hear a slight variation. And so I try to explain, to people when these obvious differences come about, because I don't want them to feel like, some kind of way about their worship. And like, for example, in today's class, I explained, how differences of opinion are in certain areas are allowed and substantiated, by our primary sources. So in those areas where it's because a lot of us, we grow up or we come into the deen thinking that the way I learned Islam, that's the right way. And if I see any other way that something is being done and I wasn't taught that way is wrong. And so I try to deal with that mentality, right? And it's amazing because in those areas where you have room for difference of opinion, we strict. Like, nah, that's wrong. In the areas where it shouldn't be no room for difference of opinion, we nonchalant. Like it's cool. You can have that kind of belief. You can have that false belief that take you outside of Islam. So it's okay. So it's y'all tripping, right? So like we get stuff backwards. It's like Hassan Ali said earlier, like Bizarro. Like we just invert everything, right? So that's what I try to do. Like I just teach the subject normally, and if there's some obvious difference that I know that they're going to see and witness, I explain that.
Alhamdulillah. There's another question there. It says, Assalamu alaikum. What the Wahhabis are doing is intentional, but at the same time, they're coming apart at the seams because of their rigidness and the way they are sabotaging the black imams that are students of knowledge, especially those imams that brought Wahhabism to America in the 1990s. Have any of you imams noticed that also? Yeah, I've noticed just when I was a part of that, that stuff was happening. You had, early on, I remember people like, who were seeming like they knew something, like Dr. Muhammad Jabali and some of those people, Dr. Abdullah Hakim Quick, he's not a Salafi, but, he was trained in those institutions. And then in the mid 90s to late 90s, you had a whole group of these students who went over there and they started disparaging the ones that came before them, preoccupying people with these do not take from lists and this a deviant list and this minhaj is not correct and all of these slogans. Yeah. So, we know, I noticed that and they turned out to be a strand of a cult. You follow what I'm saying? So, and there was those madkhalis, and they follow a Sheikh Rabi' ibn Hadi al-Madkhali. He's like the main one. And his whole, they propped him up as that he's this great scholar of hadith science, but really he was just a criticizer. He was someone, basically, put in our term, he was someone that hated everybody that wasn't like him. And because he graduated from Medina University, he was seen as somebody that was a scholar, and because he was Arab, buying into that narrative that foreigners, and because they're from Saudi, they must be really connected to the holy cities. And that's not true. All those people come from that hijacking from the Saudi Wahhabi alliance, and they got the training from them. And that training, that Wahhabi training is that, this is the right way, the way we teach this Trinitarian Tawheed. You don't understand it like this. Your understanding of Tawheed is incorrect. You are an innovator or a deviant, and you're to be cautioned against. And this was the whole methodology from the mid 90s on up until now. And one of the things about cults is that, you know, they end up producing other cults. They splinter groups end up producing other splinter groups. Because now, like Imam Naim alluded to, you know, you have some of them, they all follow the same books. They all claim Ibn Taymiyyah. They all claim Ibn Qayyim. They all claim the big three scholars, Al-Albani, Bin Baz, and Uthaymeen, Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, other scholars. But then you find them different with each other more than anything else. So then you have a subculture inside of the culture, you know. And then I remember one time a brother told me this, I'll never forget it. He said, there's a loop inside the loop. Like they'll hang with each other, but then certain among them are skeptical, or the ones that hang with them every day. You know, so then there's only a few of them left, and now they just been, you know, they just don't have the same kind of drive. But that's the nature of a cult. It has you know, it's exciting. It seems like something you never heard before. It's fashionable. It has a climax, and then it dies out. They end up splitting with each other, and then they're going to break off into another cult, and, you know, someone else is going to, you know, try to take up the banner of the proper Islam. You know, the same thing, because nobody else knew Islam before them, or everybody else, the majority of Muslims, which is Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, don't understand the basics of, you know, Aqidah and all this kind of stuff. So, yeah, it's falling apart. Alhamdulillah, it's falling apart. Alhamdulillah, it's falling apart. And this is why Ahlul Sunnah has to be a bigger voice, because they actually fill the void where we left open, you know. And I mean, I criticize brothers like this when I left that Salafi stuff. I was like, man, where was y'all voices at, man? And it was only a few. It was only a few that was really loud, you know what I mean? And I think I had enough sense to, you know, okay, I'm listening to what he's saying, because at that time it was like, oh, this person's a deviant, you know. He's, you know, and you know, they had a program of how they would vilify you, man. Like, and if you didn't know better, you would be like, oh man, I'm gonna be careful with this guy. And this person is the sheikh. This person is the one that got traditional Islam, and they did put together a 100-page PDF with all this copy paste and you know, sound bites and all this stuff. And, you know, and they already condition you on the proofs. You know, just follow the proofs, what the proofs say, or the scholars say. We follow the ulama. They indoctrinate you so much, and they keep confusing you. It's like, man, if a person is not keen, they'll just be like, okay, it's just too much for me, but I'm not going to go against them, you know. And that's where we at. But now more people are waking up, because other voices have come to fill their void that they left, because they didn't have any good adab, you know, they didn't have any fiqh, and they battle with each other. So, you know, while they battling with each other, we step in and take over, inshallah ta'ala. Sorry for talking so long, Imam Naim. But the next question is for you, Imam Naim.
That's actually a trick question. Issa said, question for Imam Naim. Do you have an assistant imam? No, your question should be, do you want an assistant imam? Yes. I got a brother here that I consider the assistant imam, but, you know, he don't be trying to assist. We want to work me to death. He listening right now. I'm thinking about calling his name out, right? He got me doing all the work, right? I should call him out. Should I call him out? No, I ain't going to do that. Faheem said, yeah. Abdullah. Yeah. So yes and no. I want one though. But you know, like I said in Pittsburgh, you know, outside of the one brother who I didn't call out, right? I alluded to it in Pittsburgh, and I'm not trying to like dump on people for Pittsburgh, but you know, a lot of people here like knowledge, man. You know, it's like, you know, we got the term that Imam Faheem, Imam Amin coined, called microwave Islam. The microwave Islam has a sister, and his sister name is Hodgepodge Islam, where I don't even really seriously try to learn Islam. I watch a YouTube video, I randomly read a book, or not even a whole book, just a chapter from it, and not even a classical book, just any book that makes me feel good, and my Islam is what I think it is, and I don't even need no scholars. Talk about default Wahhabi, I'm just default whatever the f I want to be, right? Like seriously, it is bad. You have people like that, that like really think that their opinion matters, and they don't need no scholars. You don't need no Salafi scholars. You don't need no whatever y'all Malikis and Shafis, whatever y'all talk about. We don't need none of them. I just it's just me, and I know what it takes to be a good Muslim, and what that is what I think it is. And there's a lot of that going on here, and also because the populations are a lot older than in a lot of cities. So a lot of people they didn't have exposure to a lot of different things like we did. So it's kind of like all over the place.
There's another question. There's a comment. I don't know if we caught it, but there's a comment that I want to address. But this one says, will you be having any classes that will teach Hanafi fiqh by Hanafi teachers? Inshallah, if we find some not to discriminate against them, but we trying to keep it black, so we find a black Hanafi teacher, because we specialize in catering to our people without excluding anybody else. Then inshallah, I don't see why not. There's a comment here.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can't get no mic time. You gonna hog the whole mic?
Man, you said, man, listen. when you went on the Coca Cabana, you kept me backstage, man.
One of the things. Yeah,
go ahead.
One of the things that I wanted to mention about in terms of what Imam Malik mentioned is that I think sometimes when you're teaching, as y'all mentioned, you got to understand the context and what you're teaching and who you're teaching and the environment. So like for us, I make it without going in details. I make it well known that for everybody that come in, I teach them that basic 3 methodology, and I do it from the minbar. Why? Because I know most of the people, because of the things that Imam Naeem mentioned about a lot of people just want to do what they want. They microwave Islam. What's the other term? What's the sister called?
Hodgepodge.
Hodgepodge Islam. That is real. And because that doesn't have real substance, when they run in with people with more deviant creed, they don't know how to handle that and they just submit. So I try to have structured learning and methodology and explain to them why this is important without going into the details as they learn. So like that's just one of the ways that we try to combat the problematic way of learning Islam that exists in our communities, because it's problematic, and that a person has no methodology, just does what he wants, make it up as you go along. That's not only dangerous for the individual, that's dangerous for the future of Islam and generation. As Imam Sheikh al-Buti, he wrote his famous book, Allah madhabiyya akhtaru bid'ah tuhaddidu shari'atul islamiyya, that not following a madhab, not following a school of thought is the most dangerous innovation threatening the sacred law of Islam, right? Because you're going to have a bunch of people just making it up. Instead of 4 madhab, you're going to have 5 million. Everyone just doing what they want. And that is undermining the whole objective of the sacred law. So while I agree when we talk about common people, taking it easy stage by stage, but we must establish methodology because of the nature of our community and the situation. Because if you don't do that, the default is they're going to fall into bad practices, bad beliefs, bad understandings, because that's in the environment. So you must take consideration of the environment, right? And I give you, when we were learning in our overseas, it wasn't a question of follow a madhab or not. Why? Because everybody followed the madhab. You had scholars, and common people wasn't interested in that. So you knew, like, just follow a madhab. Even if you didn't know it well, like if a guy comes from Pakistan, he's going to say, I'm Hanafi. Even if in reality he's not Hanafi at all, because the environment is Hanafi, right? But he may know nothing about Hanafi fiqh. So that same concept, we want people to have a methodology, at least that's first nature, even if they don't fully understand it, you know, and Allah knows best. That's just my thought about it. I wanted to share. I just wanted to get some mic time, boom back a little bit. Y'all got the mic just flowing, busting rhymes, and won't even let me in.
Hold on, real quick, before you mute your mic again, I don't know if you've seen the private chat. We only got $30 so far.
$30.
Yes, 30. May Allah bless those who gave the 30.
I think y'all might need to explain, because you know people don't realize that giving needs to be consistent, and why you need to give. Maybe they don't understand the importance of giving, and that means we're doing something that's, you know, we're not effective in some way. So let's try to find out. Ask them, why don't you give? What's the problem? Everyone got $5. I explained to Sheikh Walid the other day as I was cruising into Starbucks, right? And I got me a vanilla latte with almond milk with some nutmeg on top and toasted banana bread, no pork, right? And it was $8.32. And me and Sheikh was talking while I was doing that. And I said, we got money. I got a coffee maker in the house, right? What's that thing called? Kruger? What is it? Kruger? What's that coffee maker thing called? Hello, y'all hear me?
Yeah.
You mean like the one that y'all got in the Masjid to make the little individual stuff?
Yeah, what's that called?
I don't know. But I know
individual coffee maker.
No, it's a name. We that poor, we don't even got coffee makers. No, I forget the name of it. You know what I'm talking. I think it starts with a K, Cougar or something, right? But I got one of them in my house, right, with Starbucks coffee. But that Starbucks don't taste like Starbucks from Starbucks, right? So I could have made the coffee at home, but I went to the Starbucks and spent $8, right? Now, I don't do that often, but people drink. I know when I used to be out on the road, I used to have a Starbucks every day. So you're talking about $8 a day, just drinking coffee at 7 days a week. That's $56, right? Right? $63. I can give 50 that to the masjid and drink Dunkin' Donuts coffee, for that matter, or drink the coffee in my house, which would be equivalent to about $1 a cup, when we realize that we got to give. So all of us can give $10 a week. That's not even a big sacrifice for the money we spend on soda or whatever our knobs are. So I think when we're talking about taking the burden off of everybody do a little, $10. We're trying to build. We want to give. We need to have people come on and support and spread Ahl Sunnah and build community. That stuff costs money. So I think it's something that we need to do. So maybe we should try to figure out, ask the people, why is it hard for you to give $10 a week? Some people don't have money, so we understand that. It's pandemic, some. But not, I know everybody is spending on their knobs. I know that's most of us. And I'm guilty. But, I mean, so if I can do it, I'm not rich. You know what I mean? And we can do it. I know we can do it. So we gotta prioritize what is important, and then we gotta understand the why. So I think we gotta be effective in telling the why, and Allah knows best.
Okay. We're gonna get to the money in a minute. But I think we had another question. There was a comment that I had seen. I think I lost it.
There's a whole bunch of questions that went by. I don't know if anybody
Somebody
caught it.
asked me. I seen one. I don't know if you can go back, Imam Naeem, because that's hard for me to do it on this computer. But somebody asked me what deviant did I listen to that made me go away from Salafiyah. I think Farouk asked that question. I don't know. I always was kind of open. Like I always, listen to people for myself. And one of the things that I learned early is that when I found that someone would tell you don't listen to that person, I knew that that was exactly the person I need to listen to. Because that person has something going on that that they don't agree with, and that person got something that, you know what I mean? So that made me more intrigued. You know what I mean? I was never the one like, oh man, he said don't listen to him, so I'm not gonna listen to him. That made me listen to him. You know what I'm saying? So I think in the mid '90s, because I encountered the Methodologies in like around '96, and so you had Imam Abu Muslima was that time was big, Dawood Adib, Abu Osama Dhahabi, and I didn't really know any Ahl Sunnah people, but the one voice that stood out early on was Ustad Abdul Rahman Asandalani. May Allah preserve him. And he was young then, and he was on fire, And I remember one time at 52nd Street, he was giving the khutbah, and they were saying, because the Salafis used to teach you that if the person wasn't Salafi on the minbar, it was okay for you to get up and leave. Just tell you not to attend your obligation because the person is not Salafi. Yeah, that was crazy. So I remember one time I was there and a couple of brothers got up and left. And I stayed. So I listened to Sandalani and I'm like, wow, man, this guy's remarkable. And everybody know Ustad Abdul Rahman Sandalani, or you might not know him, but just look him up, man. He's remarkable. He's been a thorn in their throats for a long time, and we need him again because he got that fire, man. And he got the training too. So he was
real quick, man, Faheem, before you go on, if anybody doesn't know who he is, visit our YouTube channel. Not the channel that you're on, our Masjid Mu'min Nur Zaman Institute's YouTube channel. He has a couple of classes on there that we did with him where he's teaching about Abu Hassan al-Ash'ari and Abu Mansur Maturidi, the imams of the two schools in Creed. I think on our channel, that video probably got the most views. It's either that or my khutbah I gave about Ahl Sunnah versus the NOI or something like that. Well, it's one of them two khutbahs that got the most views on our channel. Anyway,
yeah. And he also did a series. This is after I left. This is later on. He came to our masjid, and he did a series covering Ibn Taymiyyah, and it was kind of in response because they had attacked him and called him. They said he was from the Jahmiyyah. That's what they call the Asharis, And he did a whole series that is powerful, that you could. I forget the name of his YouTube channel, but he was one of the earliest voices that I listened to. And then Philly, in Philly, you had those old time people, old time Philly brothers, man, that had that Philly brotherly love. And, they came before this Wahhabi movement started taking over. Then I had one of my own teachers, Sheikh Ali Subhan, when he saw, some of those people, they already had, Basira, man. They had foresight. He started, when he seen how this thing was going, he pulled out his stuff and he shared the book with us, the one that was refuting Al-Albani, because everybody was talking about Al-Albani was this great hadith scholar. And
Al-Albani unveiled.
Yeah, Al-Albani unveiled, right? And I remember the ones that we couldn't even really read in this class, we was ready to refute them. But I was like, hold on, man, this is my teacher. I got to give him some respect. So let me listen. So then he started giving up the truth. And then the other person who was influential was Sheikh Abdullah ibn Hamid that we had on here a few weeks ago. He this is before Zaytuna, happened. So the Sheikh, you know, he was always an academic. Even before I knew him, you know, I knew him for a long time before he went overseas. And I used to have some personal classes with him, man. He was making it clear that, you know, between following the Salaf and Salafiyah, and, you know, and then I remember years ago, this brother said to me, he said, you know, you follow that Wahhabi stuff? And I had never heard that term before. This is like maybe 97. I said, what do you mean Wahhabi stuff? He said, don't you know they kill Muslims? And I was like, what? Man, get out of here, man. You talk, what? They kill Muslims? And then I read an article that was by Sheikh Nur Hamim Keller. He bust the head off of him, man, like back in 95, I think 95, 96, he had some articles, you know, that was before the internet was taken off. So you had to really, if you got a hold of this stuff, it was something valuable. He had bust their head open back then, man, you know, and how I know it because Imam Abu Muslim had did a so-called refutation on him that I heard. He said, yeah, he said, no, Hamim Keller, he must be related to Helen Keller because he blind. But no, Hamim Keller was the sheikh, man. Even our own oldest, Imam Amin. You know, I had heard a story about him. I had never met him, but I think this is like 2006 or 7, somewhere late 2000s. And they was like, man, somebody asked Dawood Adib. They said, yeah, we heard this brother Amin from Atlantic City, man. You know, he trashed you. And Dawood Adib was like, no, he didn't. No, he didn't, man. He was getting like heated. So that's when I knew he did trash him. But I didn't know Imam Amin at that time. But the way he was acting, you know how somebody, you lose a fight, you know what I mean? Like, man, yeah, he stole you, man. Nah, man, I slipped, man. Nah, he knocked you out, man. And you told yourself you slipped. You lost. So, and then I had, you know, got the honor of meeting Imam Amin. Sheikh Hamza Yusuf was one that I used to listen to. Imam Zayd, you know, they used to tell me, I used to hear Imam Zayd when I first became Muslim. And he had like a Malcolm X kind of political activist feel back then. Like, but he was always talking these real strong words that I like, man, I got to look this stuff up, man. Like he, you know, this is a little beyond my pay grade, you know. And then, you know, he had went over to Syria, and then brother was like, yeah, this guy, Imam Zayd was over there because they put him on the list. He over there sitting in circles talking about hua, making up stuff, man, you know. I was like, so now later on,
they'll lie on you in a minute, boy.
Huh?
So they'll lie on you in a minute.
Oh yeah, they'll lie on you in a second, man. So then those are some of the figures. And then, you know, as this the internet thing opened up, it just exposed me to a whole bunch of people. And I just always just listen to people. Then, you know, when I really started learning about tasawwuf, man, you know, listening to, you know, what the science was really about, because these people, not only will they lie on you, they will write books and deliberately put distortions in there, you know, because there was a book, I think it was supposed to be by Ibn al-Qayyim, and it was supposed to be a refutation of tasawwuf. So they took all of these things that supposedly was from extreme Sufis, and for instance, they had a narration about a man got on the minbar, he was naked, and one tried to castrate himself, and they tell you this is what Sufis do. So, you know, a rational mind be like, okay, yeah, I don't want no parts of that. You know, that sounds like somebody was on a bad trip. You know what I mean? That's the tasawwuf. Now I'm cool, you know. And so just start listening to people and listening to counter arguments. And then, alhamdulillah, more Ahl Sunnah people were standing up, and like Imam Hanif, you know, he used to be down 15th Street. Shout out to Saiful Haq, Dean over Dunya show was very important. Khalil Abdullahi, Imam, I own Imam Naeem. I used to listen to these brothers. You know, they popped up. You know, you see brothers on the screen, man. It does something to you. Like we got magic. I don't want to say magic, but I'm like, man, look at these young brothers on the screen, man. They talking that talk, man. Let me hear what they talking about. And it was nothing like that Wahhabi stuff, man. So I like, okay, now, you know, this way. But those are some of the luminaries that I was able to listen to. And I got 2 of them right here. So alhamdulillah, they really helped me along.
I see one question up there. I'll just read it. I don't know if you could put, it's kind of high up there. It's from Issa Bay. He said, Imams, how often if at all, do you have people come in the community and attempt to sow discord? And what are their methods you've seen? I'll go first because my answer is kind of like short because I really don't have it like an infestation like y'all have over there. But right. But when here by Discord, like it's not necessarily connected with the Wahhabi and all that kind of stuff. It's just that people here used to doing their own thing. Like Abu Muwadda mentioned in the comments, a lot of people in our community, they like kind of like older. So a lot of the stuff we talking in their mind, this stuff not even relevant to them. Right. So like just to give you a little quick history, the Imam, the Masjid was founded by a group of elders. A lot of them have passed since then. They kind of like left the first, what used to be called the first, I think the first mosque of Pittsburgh. And now they just Arabized it, the Masjid al-Awwal. And the way I get the information is like the way they communicated to me is like basically when they adopted the Wahhabi minhaj, that they went on the other side, outside of town and brought a house and founded the masjid. Of course, they're not using the word Wahhabi, but they said they didn't like the direction that the community was going in, right? And so they established a community over there. And so, so like I said, it's a lot of older people. They're not all into the Salafi, Wahhabi, Ashari, Maturidi, Athar. They don't know nothing about this stuff, right? And some of them listen to this program, but they just know it's just different. They can't explain either one side or the other. But reality, it was like, like because of what's default in our community, the default setting, even if you don't like quote unquote Salafis, like the Methodologies, like you be talking about, even if you're not following the traditional school, you yourself are actually you actually are what you don't like. You just don't like the way they acting, but the belief in everything is the same, right? So, but like I said, it's hodgepodge, and so like you'll find somebody that come in the masjid and like just like, nah, this ain't right. Why it ain't right? That ain't the way we've been doing it. Well, what's the proof of doing it the way you've been doing it? Nah, it just ain't right. It would just be talking in circles. It's not like based on anything. So like when us don't have that problem, and because for people outside of Pennsylvania, don't be fooled and think that because Philadelphia and Pittsburgh are both in Pennsylvania, that these are two cities that are exactly alike. They're not alike. When I lived in Philadelphia and we were teaching at 52nd Street, or like you say, UMM, the Wahhabis would come in and challenge and want to debate and all that. Here it's the complete opposite. Once they know that you're a deviant, you're the off-it list, Imam Naeem is a Sufi, he's a deviant, got a grave someplace in the masjid that they worshiping at, just don't go there. And so they kind of like stay off to themselves. They don't really come through, right? They don't come through like that. So I really don't have that type of discord that you probably alluding to.
Imam Amin, you want to go or you want me to go?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
For us, Masjid Muhammad, zero Wahhabi participation, except they just come and sit down and go out. Because when they raise their necks, we pull out our swords. So it's vice versa. Hate to be so shadid around here, but it's known in our masjid, if you raise that stuff, we're going to refute you. And most of them don't know what they're talking about. So and we've refuted their big teachers. So it's well known that if you're not like the big graduates and we take them, you know what we're going to do for you. So it's like well known in the area, Masjid Muhammad, either you come there, sit down and learn, or don't go. So we never have a Wahhabi problem at all.
Yeah, Issa Bay is part of my community, man. So I don't really have to answer this question. This is not for him. This is for the other people. Like we basically don't have that often infiltration. We just got a lot of people that are default Wahhabis and they don't know it. And we recently had an infiltration of somebody that was, was charismatic and he spoke Arabic and, seemed like he was a teacher. He seemed real humble, but it was a manipulator, and like for me, I try to give him the benefit of the doubt, just because he was coming to the masjid, being quiet, not really saying much, but he had an agenda. So when I saw what the agenda was, we had to put it to rest. But then, because what they do, and I've seen this when I was with the Wahhabis, they're meet in secret. They get people's information, they're meet in secret, they give you all these ideologies, and they have you ready to, be renegades against your own community, because they're not teaching correctly. They are not on the minhaj, and it's okay to, oppose you, to confront you, and not follow the leadership. So one of them, we had to put him down, but not before he had got to a few people, and the impact has been that they're still kind of like, they traumatized, they traumatized because they still think this person is knowledgeable because, as they say, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king, And I remember being, not like mesmerized by people that knew Arabic, but I was, coming up in the streets. One thing you know how to do is read people really well, and sometimes you can see the stuff a mile away. And Imam Amin alluded to this in one of his programs. Like, we think that it would never happen in religion, especially Deen, because Islam is so pure. It was a means of change, reformation for many of us. And then when you see the stuff that you've seen in the streets, flim-flams, cheating, betrayal, just straight up stuff, man, they're like, hold on. I know this stuff. I know nigga stuff, man, when I see it very well. I didn't think I would see it in this pure religion of Islam, but this is exactly what it is, man. Manipulators, man, users, and so I know for a while it took me a while to really recognize that, but now when I see it, we just put it to rest, inshallah. We got another question. How did the Prophet Muhammad SAW deal with spying fitna, those who sowed discord, splinter groups, those who strayed from Ahl Sunnah wa Jama'ah? What was his way of handling all of these types of situations?
I can answer that. Usually, what I use is a frame of reference. There's two very popular and well-documented situations that happened early on in our ummah. Like you had the false prophet, Musaylama, the liar. Obviously his major deviance. He had other deviant things he did and things, but obviously the major thing with him is that he claimed to be a messenger of Allah after Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And if you look at the way the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam dealt with him, first he sent a teacher. And the amazing thing about that, we got a lot of this going on right now. There was a man named Rajal, like the word Rijal, like men, but his name was Rajal. And I forgot his last name. But he was from Bani Hanifa, the same people that Musaylama was from. And he stayed, but when they took Shahada, he stayed back in Medina and learned with the Sahaba, with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, go back to your people and warn them and try to get them back on the truth, because his people started following Musaylama. They said, Muhammad Rasulullah, Musaylama Rasulullah. And so he went back to his people, and when he got back to the next, where they from, he said, y'all know me. I just came back from Medina with the messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he put the stamp of approval on Musaylama. So we good. We got our own prophet. So he was treacherous. He lied on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? And we know what happened with them. That the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam died shortly after, and Abu Bakr fought them. And now, so that's one example. So the example is you send people to teach, and then after, in this case, it went to battle. The other example I like to use is with Ali ibn Abi Talib, Karamallahu wajhahu, the fourth Khalifa, the son-in-law, the cousin of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He had to deal with the Khawarij, the succeeders, those who broke off from the community. And he sent Abdullah ibn Abbas to debate them. And then after a while, when some people made Tawbah, came back to Ahlus Sunnah wal Jamaat, and then Ali fought them. And so the way to deal with people who stray is to teach them first. I mentioned those two historical situations to illustrate that you don't just just dismiss somebody. You give people a chance. You teach them. You educate them. Give them a chance to come back. And then after that, we don't have any sulta. We don't have any authority to do the other part of it, the that part. But we educate people. That's what we do.
Imam Naeem, I'm Imam Amin. You want to chime in?
Yeah, I think with us, honestly, when we're dealing with these things, even though we talk, sometimes I don't even want to mention names. I really don't. I only do it for clarification purposes, because one would perceive that it's like enmity or something, and it's not. We as in our country, we get stuff by default. Knowledge didn't reach us. So I say what Imam Naeem said is that we got to teach people, and you got to be patient. You got to be patient, and it may take a long time. In my mind, it's going to take us at least 30 years of everyday teaching to turn the tide of the damage from these movements. I mean, think about it. Here we are, 2021, and it's people believing still that Master Muhammad, they say, came in the person, Allah came in the person of Master Muhammad. And these people still believe that stuff. With all the stuff that's available, right? It's people who would listen to Farrakhan and still believe he's Muslim. And then you got our leaders who may be well-intended will say, well, we can't tell nobody who's a Muslim, who's not. This stuff is blatant kufr. What do you mean? But our people don't know. So you got to just be patient. And over time, inshallah, people will learn. But what I would suggest that we never do, and I'm guilty of it sometimes, I have to admit, we can't take none of this stuff personal. It's not personal. We're trying to help each other. We're all in the same boat. And some of us got, a little more knowledge than others, a little more access. We got to share that. You know what I mean? With mercy, with concern for the other, and realize that, we're in this fight together, and we got to figure our way out of it. That doesn't mean accept wrong ideas and bad beliefs, but be merciful to each other when we're dealing with one another. But being harsh and dismissive, I don't know how well that's going to work, even if we're right. Right? Even if you're right, you still got to be merciful. You can't be hard, you can't be mean, and you definitely can't take this stuff personal. And Allah knows best.
I think just in respect to that question, when we talk about people spying, fitna, sowing discord, we gotta give them a warning first, and then after that, we gotta remove them out from our communities. You know what I mean? Because some of those people, they don't mean well. They don't mean well. So but you have to have the ability to be able to do it. Not just what I'm saying. Leave it to people who can identify that kind of stuff, because these people will disrupt your communities. They will cause all types of discord, hatred. They will cause people to have a misunderstanding of Islam, people leaving Islam, people, just comfortable with being in sin, man, because they don't want to deal with all the fitna, and I believe there's a hadith in Sahih Muslim about whoever disrupts the affairs of the Ummah when they're united, to, put the sword to them, whoever it is, so, but for us as a people, we just got to keep our communities united, and we support and keep all of the you know those agent provocateurs out, man, because they around. You know, we ask Allah for safety.
You just reminded me of something else, another type of fitna, going back to the same question you was referring to. Like a lot of times we have to think for people because people don't have enough wherewithal to think for themselves. And I just give you an example. Our masjid has Wi-Fi. And so a couple of years ago, I found out that some brothers were on the masjid's Wi-Fi looking on some websites of how to, assemble weapons and stuff like that. And I'm like, huh? What? And we got a brother here on a thread, Abu Muwadda, who did Fed time behind some stuff similar to that. And I'm like, people, hello. I'm like, why would you do that in a masjid, right? You think they can't see what's on the internet? And so that's why, and you just reminded me of something. We're gonna, we just didn't do it yet. What we're gonna do is put on our Wi-Fi. You know how, like, if you use the hospital's Wi-Fi, they make you agree to X, Y, and Z before you, or you at the airport, you on their public Wi-Fi, make people sign those agreements that you won't go to those type of sites. And I say that to say, because we get we get the occasional weirdo that'll pop up. Hey, Assalamu alaikum, I know y'all don't know me, but hey, can I spend the night in the masjid? No. No. Right? You can't stay the night in the masjid. We don't know you, right? Waste all this time looking around the masjid to see if you planted anything. No, you can't. Right? So that type of fitna, we always gotta watch out for. Just a lot of weirdos and stuff, weird stuff be happening.
There's another question, but we got our brother Joshua Perez, one of the Fudala from the Hanabila. But this question here is, will you be having classes teaching Islamic history? Inshallah is in the works. But what's Joshua's, did you see it? Let me see.
That one right there?
Oh yeah, he says, Imams, what have you noticed with the advent of phones and social media? Can you compare and contrast before and now with this new norm? After reading and going down the rabbit hole on the subject, it seems we have to train how to use these things effectively and not mindlessly. Do you think this is actually the bigger challenge or roadblock, especially to children? Yeah, it's a big challenge, because it's a huge distraction. It's a big waste of time, except for people who really know how to do it. People scrolling for hours, and now they got every kind of thing. It went from just Facebook, then it was Twitter, then it was Instagram, and now it's Clubhouse and it's TikTok and whatever else they got. It's just a lot of stuff, and we do really have to tackle this issue. And I think this is one of the reasons why you see a lot of ulama online, because now it's needed, because I remember, a lot of people wouldn't come online, because they felt like it wasn't really worth it. But we got to really channel this means, because we don't really get it. We got to find a way to use it, because it's really not going nowhere, and you'll be at a loss if you don't use this social media. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the ability to make it beneficial for us. I mean,
hey, in my house, I got Chromecast, so sometimes I could be watching a YouTube video and I have it like on autoplay, so it just randomly pick videos. I think it was 2 weeks I was cracking up. It went to a barbershop, a CJ barbershop video, and they argue with Imam Amin, trying to convince him to get on YouTube and social media for his classes.
And here he go. He did it.
He was against it. I said, subhanAllah. I said, subhanAllah, look at him now. Every day, all day.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, that's what it do. I knew I would get a sweet tooth. That's why I didn't want to do it.
MashaAllah. So you notice the hodgepodge Islam is sometimes exacerbated by Masjid administrations. I know I chopped that word up. That do not teach from a particular madhab in fiqh or aqidah. I heard Imam Naeem mention this. What is hodgepodge Islam? I missed that one.
Basically, you don't teach according to no system. You just, teach a little this, a little that, a little this, a little that. Like yesterday in my Maliki Fit class, I began by talking a little bit about this. Sometimes if you're not careful, that you can be a whole decades as a Muslim and just learning Islam based upon what makes you feel good. And you could be Muslim for decades and still not know basic things. Like basic, I'm talking about big basic things, like what to believe and what not to believe. How to purify yourself, how to make wudu. Because a lot of us get attracted to this hodgepodge, little this, little that. We don't prioritize or we don't even know how to prioritize, what I need to know. I gave the example is like if any of us have young children and we said, listen, next time I go shopping, I'm not getting no rice, no potatoes, no meat, just all candy, chocolate, and all that. Not too many children will have a problem with that. Like, I'll help you shop with me, Abby. Yes, right? And a lot of us are like that with our deen. Like, because, junk food, it tastes good. Most of it don't have no nutritious value to it. It's not going to feed your cells. Likewise, a lot of the information that's out there, a lot of the books and videos that's out there, it might have some good information, but you don't have the foundation, you don't have the proper context to make any good usage of that information. Our belief system be all jacked up. We don't know how to pray. We mixing methabs with stuff that ain't part of no methab and just a ball of confusion, right? And a lot of us spend, are in the deen for decades like that. And so, and there's some masjids that, as you said, exacerbate the problem because that's where they teach. They don't teach no system or anything. You can be going to every class in the masjid and still not know your fard ayn, but you're in classes every day for years. So yes, some masjids do that. And because some masjids, they have the idea that, we got to be doing something. Let's get them busy with something. So they just throw a few classes out there for them. And so they can say that we having classes. They justify their existence. So, yeah, I believe that they exacerbate the problem.
Yeah, I just had to look up that word, so it make the problem worse. Yeah, and what is even worse than that exacerbates it even more. I don't know if I said that right, but I know I say Pittsburgh. What makes it even worse is that some of these places that are teaching this, they think they're teaching the methodology and this stuff that's, that's all over the place. They call it Salafi fiqh and, Salafi Aqidah and, or they Salafi Aqidah and they this madhab and fiqh and this kind of stuff. So a whole bunch. And okay, we follow the proofs, we follow all the imams, but we take the best opinion according to the most authentic proof. And all of this stuff, there's so many ideologies that's confusing, man. And, we just got a lot of work and undoing a lot of this stuff and unpacking a lot of it. Let's get this question in. A lot of Wahhabi Salafis are following the madhab and fiqh now like they weren't extremely against it before. I see them doing this in order to spread their creed in a subtle way among the Sunnis. Do the imams feel that this is more dangerous than their previous approach of openly and aggressively calling to their way? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because what I've noticed is that a lot of them are trying to accept, following the madhab and fiqh, but with this, this tahqiq mentality, okay, I'm going to follow the madhab, but I'm going to, whatever is not correct according to the most authentic hadith, I'm just going to reject it. I'm just going to not take the view of the greatest imams of this ummah because such and such said that the hadith was weak. Or such and such said that, we can't use weak hadith. And you have great muhaddithun, recording dozens, hundreds of weak hadith because they understood another principle. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think this is more dangerous because you know, they're seeming like they're coming to traditional in Islam, but then it's like a wolf in sheep's clothing. You know, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for safety. I mean,
Yeah, I agree. And usually those types, usually not all the time, usually those types, their akhlaq, their adab is better, their character is better. So it's even more tricky. Like the guys we've been talking about earlier, a lot of there's drama with them. There's horror stories. The characters stink, so it's kind of like really easy. But a lot of these people, they're a little bit more polished, so it's like a lot more tricky. But the foundation, their usul, their belief is the exact same thing, and they even try to rename that to make it seem like it's something else.
in my city, sadly, there are quite a few closet Salafi students who are now teaching and gaining a following in long-time Sunni Masjids. What do you feel are some ways to combat that type of stuff? Uh, well, they're not in the closet no more. What you mean closet? No, I'm just joking. But because it's just rough, and this is how Imam Amin was saying how much how much time is going to take to turn this around. Because then you have people who are not uh, polished enough to know the difference between the stuff, and they just don't want to see no friction between the Muslims because we all Muslims. But some of this stuff is very serious, man. And some of the ways, I think the best way to combat it is you just have to question it sometimes, and you have to use some tact in the way you do it. You gotta, if you have the ability, you gotta go when if you in these areas, you gotta ask these people questions that basically won't hold up according to traditional Islam, and you got to know and do it in a way where they're put on the spot because they understand that very well, but not in a way that embarrasses them. I mean, it's a lot of tact you got to use, and then the thing is, you got to have that kind of energy to do that kind of stuff, man. It's just like, but people gain a following because, you gotta make those people lesser in the eyes of the people who follow them in order for them to not follow them. You know what I mean? And then, then you got to really, then you open yourself up to going back and forth with them, back and forth, and then, then you lose out on something. So I don't know, man.
I think part of the problem. I'm sorry, ma'am. I mean, go ahead.
Now, I think one of the things that I would advise in that is out-teach them, and which means you have a rich tradition in any madhab, Maliki, Hanafi, Shafi'i, Hanbali, and Ash'ari Creed, and Tasawwuf. If we put a superior curriculum out there and people can compare and see, I think that is working. So I think from those who are Ahl Sunnah, who have learned, you got to start teaching your family, your friends. You got to be diligent every day at it. Teach, teach, teach. Can't be lazy. And then when people see the different types of knowledge that's available, their mind is going to, because people don't want conflict, especially in our time. So, okay, you do what you do, and I'm going to do what I do, and let the chips fall where they may. People will notice the difference between gold and copper. We just got to teach. So I would say is that Imam Malik? Malik?
Yeah, that's him. A closet Ahl Sunnah, man. Get him.
Yeah, you got to just teach, and you got to be courageous in that, and not, you see a guy, and I'm not speaking you specifically, even though I'm speaking to you specifically. I'm not indicating you specifically, even though I'm indicating you specifically. No, I'm joking, right? No, we can't be unsure of al-haq. We don't got to be rude, but you got a lot of guys that will sit around Wahhabis, know they wrong, and not argue. Don't argue. Go teach the truth. Right? You got your own platforms. Spread your knowledge. Teach. Even if you only get a few followers, that's a few people who's learning from you. Everybody got somebody who's going to listen to them. So I'm saying if we just do that, I think it would work. And that's my honest opinion. We got to be more active on social media, teaching, spreading the knowledge, teaching the books you learn over and over and over again. So when there's abundance of knowledge, it will change the situation, and Allah knows best.
Yeah, I just like to add to that, like in Philadelphia, like I think you already mentioned it in a comment further down, that the elders, they're the ones open the floodgates for this. A lot of them, they don't understand, how critical the issue is. They don't think that these people that they're letting teach are the problem. They think, like we said, it's just those extreme ones that's the problem. And so these elders, they still control those Masjids, and they're letting them in. They're keeping the fire going by letting them keep teaching and teaching and teaching. And so I say that to say, and I don't blame them, because when they became Muslim, that's all that was there, default. Like, this stuff we bringing is some new high advanced, new highfalutin stuff to them, right? So, right, it's not basic to them. And so they keep letting this stuff happen. And so, like Imam Amin in his city, like, he told his story several times before he found out Imam Qari rahimahullah was learning traditionally. He was teaching outside of his house. If you go back to us in Philly, we was teaching out of Amir Khalil's house before we started operating out of any masjids. And so I think that's what's going to have to happen in cities, like that, where that people are going to have to start teaching, and not just online. We're going to have to start meeting at people's houses and build from there. We have to build from scratch. I think a problem with our people, not you, Malik, but just people in general, a lot of people are waiting for someone else to come do something. We have to do it. We have to do it. And it don't have to be a sheikh. None of us are shuyukh or scholars. Long as we stay in our lane and we only teach in our lane, we stay there, right? But we have to get together. We have to teach. And the point I wanted to make is, a lot of people think, oh, Imam Amin is doing it, Imam Faheem, Imam Naeem, I don't have to do it. No. We all have to do it to our capacity, all of us. You can't just, okay, he's doing it, so I don't have to do anything. No, you have to do it. Like you said, with your families, like maybe you're in a city like Philadelphia or in another city where it's just no place to go, no place to teach traditionally, but there's 2 or 3 people that think like you. Start having classes at your house and build from there. But it has to be done. It has to be done. And like I said, the people in Philadelphia, they don't know any better. A lot of them are old, and some of the administrations there, they don't necessarily care about all that stuff, and so it's just it's just whatever. And they don't see the connection between the disintegration of Islam and the people they let in teaching with all this kind of stuff. They don't see it. They think we being extreme and that we tripping, right? And so we have to do it in people's houses, and it has to happen all over the place, not just in one place. It has to be a lot. We all Ahlul Sunnah. We don't think like the Wahhabis think, that the Shafis and beef with the Malikis. No, that's their nonsense. We all Ahlul Sunnah. We all under the same umbrella. And so, so we good with each other. And so we have to get these things teaching. That's why I'm not threatened by Abu Muwadda's, belligerent Hanafiism, right? I don't threaten. He's Ahlul Sunnah. So we cool. Alhamdulillah. I ran my mouth. That's enough. Alhamdulillah.
Okay, alhamdulillah. We're a couple minutes over the time. But before we leave, we would like to encourage those who weren't able to give anything. Please be sure to donate, to keep these efforts going, and we really have to realize that this is beyond donating to the Black Imams Roundtable. We're talking about filling up our scales on Yom Kippur, so this stuff can show up to offset a lot of the things that we're falling short in that we know we should be doing. And we all got them, we all need to be doing so much more. And we say we follow the Sahaba, radiallahu anhum ajma'in. You find that the least of them was always willing to give everything they had for Allah and His Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We asking for a minimum of $10 per person. We have $50 people or so times 10. There's no reason why we shouldn't easily, get $500 a week. We got people that can match that every week. We got people that can match half of that every week. We got people that can put $100 easily every week. We got all of us can put $5 or $10 every week. Let's just do it, man, and let's build something, because it starts small and it grows, inshallah. And by now, you should know that, we're committed. There's a lot of things I could be doing on Tuesday night, but I'm here to talk to people who I love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and, just come on back, and donate something and help us to push forward because, if we had the proper backing, we just trying to get started. If we had the proper backing, I remember hearing about an Imam one time, and I heard that he was making 6 figures as an Imam. And I'm like, man, 6 figures. If I was making 6 figures as Imam, man, I would be turning water into wine every day. I would be turning water into wine every day. And that's just off, being, committed to deen, because money is a motivator, so if I ain't got to worry about my bills and all that kind of stuff, there's so much. But, even now, alhamdulillah, I got to worry about my bills, and I'm not, complaining or nothing like that. But let's make it easy for each other. When we were talking about some of the previous movements and how did they grow? They had businesses and they had super support. They had people, man, that even behind the scenes, and we got some too, alhamdulillah. I don't want to undermine nobody's contribution, but we just got to do more. We got to really we all going to do a little more than what we have. You know what I'm saying? Everybody, the amount that it costs you to keep a account open online is what we asking for. And the more people that's doing it, the easier it is for everybody else. And then the more of us, we keep doing it continuously, we see how easy it becomes. So, if you weren't able to, pay your cover fee, drop some bread, you know what I mean? And when you give, that's how it comes back to you. That's how it comes back to you. Have no doubt about that. The little $10 that you give, $20, $50, can you imagine how that's going to come back both here in this life and automatically Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is part of His sunnah that He stores up good deeds for you because He know you're going to need them. Can you imagine that? This is already default rahmah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We talking about default. We talking about default rahmah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and storing up good deeds for us and putting us a system that we can have bank accounts that, we don't even know how rich they're going to be. And the $5 that we put or $10 could be something that will tip our scale on Yom Kippur. That's how we got to approach every deed that's going on the scale, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to reward it according to His measure. And that's something we can't even fathom. So let's get this bread up, man. If you don't have it this week, have the niyyah to give it next week. Have the niyyah to do it every single month. That no matter what, who, where, why, you got your part covered. And everybody cover their part. That's how we grow. All right, so that's all I got. Imam Naeem, you got anything before we close out?
No, I just wanted to add to what you were saying, that, of course, we plan on investing and having the money, grow on its own. But also, we already mentioned to y'all that we intend on using some of this money to visit all of y'all. Like, these things we talking about, like people having problems in their city, having access to real Islam, Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'at. We're here to help you with that. And, we need money to travel to you. So when this pandemic lifts, so that we can start, going around and, helping you, in these things, so, airplanes and buses and cars, that stuff costs, so So when it's, we need to have the nest egg. So when the pandemic lifts, we can start organizing this thing and moving out. Alhamdulillah. And all of you who have, contributed already, may Allah bless your wealth. Those of you who haven't contributed and you can, may Allah motivate you to do so. And I know sometimes we forget, we watching the screen and we forget. Sometimes I almost forget. And when we talk about it, I remind myself and I do it while we online, so I won't forget. Alhamdulillah. Even though even though we're receiving it, I still donate myself. So alhamdulillah. May Allah bless all of y'all. Alhamdulillah.
Okay, alhamdulillah. So, Imam Naeem, again, thank you all before we close out for tuning in and hanging with us through the duration of the show. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept it from us. Amin. Imam Naeem, you want to close us out with dua?
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Ya Allah, we pray that everyone receive benefit from what they have heard. We pray that their faith was increased. We pray that their hearts are united, and we ask that Allah, you facilitate for us, give us tawfiq in our affairs, and give us the ability to do more of that which is pleasing you. Bi jahi nabiyika habibika Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta wastaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Wal 'asr innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa 'amilu salihati wa tawassaw bil haqqi wa tawassaw bis sabr. Al-Fatiha. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa